Fox News alert: the weekend bombings on the streets of American cities. You know, Americans are on edge after the apparent terror-inspired violence by radical Islamic terrorism in New York, New Jersey, and potentially Minnesota. You know, there was that bombing in 1993 of the World Trade Center by New Jersey Islamic terrorists. The Sinara brothers struck in Boston, now allegedly Ahmad Rahami. We've seen this before, that wave of revolutionary bombings taking many lives on our soil. One of them, in 1975, was Frank Connor. He was 33 years old. He was having lunch at Francis Tavern in Lower Manhattan near Wall Street when that was bombed by Puerto Rican terrorists of the group the FALN. And one of those little boys down the left is with us now, his son Joe Connor, who's outspoken against terrorism. Joe, thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course, our condolences and sympathies with you always.
Sure, thank you.
Back then we had the FALN terrorists that took your father's life. Weather Underground, revolutionaries. The bombing of the LaGuardia Airport, a bomb in a locker killed 11 people in 1975. Thousands of bombings in the streets of New York. Do you fear that we could be back here now?
We seem like we're going back in that direction. I mean, if you look at the time back then, you had a country that was pulling back from the world stage. We had lost a war. We had left a vacuum. We had shown ourselves as a weak country, and I think when you are weak, you get attacked by predators. And that's what we saw with the FALN. They blew up 130 bombs in the U.S. The Francis bombing was meant to kill more than the 4 that it did that day. And we are moving in that direction. We see cops being killed like we used to see in the early 70s. It's a terrible thing, parallel, but that's where it looks like we're headed, and we have to stop this. We're getting pissed off as a country.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. In 1969, 4,330 bombings killed 43 people. 2014, there were actually 642 bombings in our country that killed 24 people. So when you talk about getting pissed off, what do we do? How do we stop this? Because this seems to be increasing.
We have to allow our law enforcement officers to talk to each other. Like the previous guest talked about, the FBI has to talk to local law enforcement. We have to be able to surveil the mosques. We know where these things are happening. Back in the 70s, they had some of the same issues where they could suspect the terrorists, but unless they caught them doing something, they weren't able to follow up on it. Well, we're getting back into that. We need to be much more focused. We need to be direct. And I can't believe that this mayor in this city has taken down some of the great things that Giuliani was doing to stop this stuff.
Bill de Blasio, but what about the fact that critics say, well, there are constitutional rights, that the surveillance potentially was against the law, and this sort of thing?
Well, when you suspect people, look, my mom grew up in Ireland. She knew who the IRA was in the churches. They all knew. People in the mosques know, and we need to be able to talk to go into the mosques and listen to what's going on. That's where the hatred is being fermented, and we need to go in and face it. We're politically correct, and that used to be a nuisance, and now it's a noose.
And about
it's around
the violation of privacy and this sort of thing?
Well, I think we can balance that. We've balanced it in the past. I don't know that anyone has been charged with violating anybody's civil rights. I mean, we're all for civil rights, but as they say, it's not a death pact either.
Not a death pact. Joe Connor,
no.
Thank you for your insight. Again, we're sorry for your loss.
Thank you,
and thank
Eric.
you for speaking out.
Anytime.
Of course.